Hello everyone and welcome to Our Ventura TV. I'm Sandra Siepak. On today's show, we're going to talk about the real estate market and buying a home. Our guest is Alex Vega. He is the Director of Lending Services for the nonprofit Ventura County Community Development Corporation. Thank you so much, Alex, for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Sandra.
Very good. We'd like to have you tell us more about your organization and what they do for people here in Ventura County.
Absolutely. Our organization, VCCDC, is a nonprofit organization which was established in 2001.
Okay.
And our goal, our focus is to help first-time homebuyers, low and moderate income, with counseling, education services, mortgage loans, down payment assistance products, and anything else that may be needed as they take the first step for home ownership. Okay. As part of our organization, we're also a CDFI, which is a Certified Development Financial Institution. And I believe we're still the only one in Ventura County with the focus on home ownership. And this is a designation given to us by the U.S. Department of the Treasury.
Good. Let's talk about the real estate market. It's tough for many people to buy a home today. Yeah. It's almost out of reach. It's very, very difficult for many people, and especially those of modest means and modest income. There's so many variables to deal with.
Right.
So how do you get around that? How do you get around those variables? How do you qualify? And how can you go about purchasing a first home?
There's no doubt that the real estate market has dramatically changed. I think we're at levels now that we were right before the foreclosure crisis.
Okay.
So the market has increased back to pre-2007 numbers. How do we go around that? It's very important that we offer different types of mortgage products that eliminate a lot of the unnecessary costs.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. One of the biggest myths is that you need 20% down to be able to purchase. And that 20% down is important because it would eliminate the mortgage insurance premium.
Okay.
It's an insurance that covers and protects lenders because you're financing over 80% of the mortgage. We've been able to work with different banks under CRA, Community Reinvestment Act programs, to be able to introduce into the market programs that don't require mortgage insurance with just 3% down. And that's one of the ways to get around because it increases the purchasing power of individuals and families and households to be able to get into this very difficult market. Down payment assistance is also a very important factor. So the way we go around it is to always look at when we meet with someone is to find out and see if there's any money that's available for them to be able to incorporate into this purchase transaction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because for many people of modest means, maybe they don't have the income to qualify for buying a home.
Right.
They're going to just say, I give up. I'm just going to keep renting.
Right.
I think you become part of that circle of renters that you seem to never get out of that. Can you give some advice in that sense?
I would say not to give up.
Okay.
A few things are happening. You're absolutely right with that because we are seeing an exodus of Californians going to other states because it's it's less expensive out there.
Yeah.
Texas, Arizona being some that are taking a lot of our talented people.
Yes.
So rental though is still also an expensive option. I think it's counterintuitive to think that by purchasing you can actually reduce your housing expense, your housing cost versus a rental. Some of the things that we want to look at is when somebody buys, there's a tax advantage to that. So there's an after-tax savings when somebody buys. So it's not an apple to apple. If your payment on a mortgage is $3,000 and your rent is $2,000, when you save the money because you're writing off the taxes on that, it's going to be less than that, and that's an important thing to consider. So I would say not to give up. We're helping families and individuals get into homeownership today that are low and moderate income. So, because one of the things that we're saying is that even moderate income home buyers today in this market are having a challenge, are struggling to be able to get into home ownership with the current median home prices that we have in the county.
Right.
Yeah.
Because of course here in California our prices for housing are through the roof. So again, that's why I'm saying many people just give up. They're like, I'm never going to qualify.
Right.
You have a lot of young people coming in now who would like to buy their first home. They don't have the income level, at least not yet. So again, that's very stressful for a lot of people trying to get in on the housing market. So that's good that you explained that. Tell us about the cash program. This is something I know your organization has.
Through our organization, the CASH program, which stands for Creating a Stable Home, it was a one-year course basically that we shrank down to 6 months to really work with individuals and families that have a specific goal in mind, homeownership being one of them.
All right.
For many, the challenge is not enough savings, or credit score is not where it needs to be, or the income, and or credit debt management.
Okay.
So through this course is really as a nucleus, as a family component, is really working together to achieve the specific goal that they need to achieve. And through our counseling and education at VCCDC, it's guiding families, individuals to that. It's like a coach. It's coaching them to get there, because it's really hard to do it on your own. There's a lot of bureaucratic red tape around credit, around this, around that. So really having a coach that can guide you in the right direction is very helpful. And we've already celebrated, I think, had 6 graduating classes through our cash program. And a lot of families have been able to reach those goals, and many of them home ownership as well.
So is the program something where they go through it and after they finish the program, they have a better chance of buying a home?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
So certain things need to be in place. And at some time, it's all 3 things at once, whether it's credit, savings, and income.
Okay.
They work on it all together.
Okay.
So it's not one or the other, so that when they get to the point of graduation, they've already been working on all of those things together.
Okay. That's good. The CRA mortgage loan products, who benefits from that? And tell us more about that.
Sure. So the CRA stands for Community Reinvestment Act.
Okay.
And there was a time where our banks weren't doing the right thing, I guess.
Okay.
And during the civil rights movement, the Congress stepped in and said, listen, if you're going to take deposits out of a specific community, you have to reinvest back into that community.
Okay.
So for a lot of banks, and for many of the banks, we work with a lot of great people at the banks that have that as a goal, as a mission, to be able to give back to the communities that they have banking operations in. So the CRA is something that was created so that banks can meet their lending test, investment test, because they're going to get audited by OCC or the FDIC.
Okay.
And we've worked with banks to create some programs that make sense on Main Street. Give you an example of a phenomenal CRA program. It's a 3% interest or 3% down, 30-year fixed mortgage in the mid-4s today, with interest or FICO scores of 620 and no mortgage insurance. And it allows them to purchase up to $650,000 loan amounts. So what that does is eliminate this mortgage insurance premium so that buyers have an opportunity to have more of their monies go to the loan and not to unnecessary mortgage insurance costs that protect really much them.
So that really helps quite a few people then.
It really does.
Right. Now, do you have to be a first-time home buyer for that?
You don't.
Okay.
As long
That's
as you
good.
don't have another home at the time and you're going to occupy the property that you're going
good.
to purchase.
Okay.
So that's what CRA does. Another component of CRA is that, and VCCDC has been really successful at disseminating these types of funds. There's forgivable grants, and I know we'll talk about that. But that's also through a CRA component, which is called WISH. Okay. And that provides down payment assistance on forgivable type monies that stays as equity for families. So who benefits? Buyers definitely benefit. The community benefits because we get to keep our residents in the community. We talked about this exodus that we're seeing in California. Right. And the lenders can also benefit because they're meeting CRA obligations. Right. Now, CRA right now is a hot topic on a national level where it may get, there may be changes, and we're hoping that those changes are going to be positive. In fact, I'll be in Los Angeles this Friday for some of these discussions with the OCC, the Office Controller of the Currency.
Okay. I want to talk about something that could be very important. It is the Down Payment Assistance Program, known as DPA.
Yes.
There's different types of DPAs, and this may also be of benefit to a lot of people.
For some, it actually is the difference maker.
It is?
Yes.
Okay.
There was an impact study that was done by the university, Cal Lutheran University, a few years back on the organization, the type of lending that we did at VCCDC. And it found that of all of the loans that we did, of families that we put into home ownership, the vast majority, over 92%, would not have been able to obtain the home ownership on those specific homes if it had not been for the CRA first mortgage products and the down payment assistance components that allowed them to get into that.
Right.
So we understand that it is sometimes the difference maker, and it's the difference between being able to buy or not. And this down payment assistance is geared toward first-time home buyers, a lot of it. Some of them families that are low income or that are under 80% of the area median income for the county,
Okay.
depending on household size. And in certain cities, we're doing $95,000 in down payment assistance, of which about $45,000 of that is forgiven after a specific period in time. One is at 5 years, the other is at 10. And that now stays as equity in their home.
Okay.
And that's another way that families or buyers are able to build wealth as well.
Which makes a very good difference for someone who's
Yes.
coming in to buy for the first time.
Correct.
Does this apply also to veterans and people who are coming now into the housing market after being in the military?
Absolutely, absolutely. We know that through the VA loan, it's a great opportunity to be able to finance 100% financing. But if veterans are able to take advantage of down payment because they are eligible,
Yes.
then they don't have to finance 100% of the loan.
Okay.
There's a certain amount of monies down that would reduce that loan amount so that they're only financing a certain percentage and their payments are on a lower amount. Thus, their mortgage payments would be less as a result. Because on these down payment assistance programs, there's no monthly payment requirement. So,
What about the income level? Does that matter? Because many people are discouraged when they
Right.
don't have, let's say, 5-year history of working somewhere earning more than $50,000 a year or more, which is going to be required in California now. It's impossible for some people. How do you deal with that?
So for some, income is important. We want to make sure that as we look at the payments, that they're in line and that they're in proportion to what a household would be able to afford.
Okay.
So as long as you keep it relative, whether it's 38% of the gross income, 45% of the gross income, whatever that gross income is, we have to work backwards and figure out this is the kind of home that someone's going to be able to purchase.
Okay.
Now, there is that reality that sometimes these homes don't exist in the county.
Yeah.
And
true.
and that's something that at least we identify and we figure out a plan as to where someone needs to be, or knowing that these are the homes and this is where you can find them. Our down payment assistance programs are eligible. They follow the buyer, and if the buyer is qualified, they can buy any home in the county. So if that home is in Fillmore, Oxnard, Ventura, Camarillo, Thousand Oaks, anywhere in the county of Ventura or Santa Barbara, we can provide the funding source at that
That's
point.
good to know.
Right.
Your organization also offers educational coaching, which is really vital, and classes so that you can obtain a home loan.
Right.
And you can take this program through your organization. Could you tell us a little bit more about that and what it entails?
Absolutely. So statistics show that some of the most successful home buyers are those that have attended an 8-hour HUD certified workshop.
Okay.
You know, you don't know what you don't know. And in these courses at 8 hours, it's from how does the credit work, how does it go to obtaining a loan, the real estate process, escrow, an inspection, everything from A to Z of the home ownership and home buying process. So for many buyers, this is the first step for them. And unfortunately, it's still only about 3 or 4% of the population that take these types of courses. Many of them just kind of go right into the mortgage market or into the real estate market, going with whatever they hear around and the advice that they get.
Okay.
So through HUD certified approved counselors and a counseling agency, they're not selling anything, everything is educational.
Wow.
And so to get that kind of education and to know, and you know, you don't know what you don't know, you'll be able to at that point kind of be able to make decisions based on what you've heard, what you've learned, and be a more informed buyer when it comes time to making that purchase.
Education is key.
Absolutely.
It's really important to
Absolutely.
buying in this market especially. Let's have you give us the website real quick for people who would like to contact you to get more information and get them in a home.
Perfect. So the website of Ventura County Community Development Corporation is www.vccdc.org.
Very good. Thank you so much, Alex Vega, for giving us so many more information, tips on getting a home for a first-time buyer.
It was great
Very
to be here,
important.
Sandra. Thank
Very
you
good.
so much
Thank
for the
you so much.
invitation.
And thank you for joining us on Our Ventura TV. I'm Sandra Siepak. Look forward to seeing you next time. Bye, everyone.